Well, Jake, before we get done on the show's preview edition, we're going to talk a little top 20. We're going to look at the preseason All-Valley team, but right now I want to focus on what we used to call the Upper Valley District, right? 36A. Some people believe that it's all McAllen's show, but you're not quite so sure, are you?
No, I'm not. I think McAllen Memorial is probably the best team in the Valley. Remains to be seen. We'll look on the top 20, but I think McAllen Memorial is the best team in the Valley. But I'm not so sure right now on Mac High being the second best team in that district. I think that they're really good. I'm still suspect on how Youngblood's going to perform at quarterback.
New quarterback, young
Now
blood,
their new
young
running
blood
back
indeed.
from my neck of the woods, North Carolina.
That's right, that's right.
So we'll see. He's from same hometown. My father worked where his father worked.
You're
So
kidding.
I actually, there's a little
Mayberry?
corollary. Yeah, Mayberry. And I think that we're gonna have to see how the La Jolla's do. And I'm not going to say La Jolla. I mean La Jolla in Palmview.
Right, because that was a great year for them last year. Palmview was tough.
Yeah, and Nicky Rowe is playing well. If you look at the way Nicky Rowe is playing right now in the scrimmages, they're doing very well as
Up
far as
and
passing
down
the ball.
the field, man. Golly. Speaking of passing the ball, Mission is passing the ball more so than they have in many years. I felt like I was watching 1987 or 1988. Detmer and those guys, man, because they're throwing the football. They got some big quarterbacks. Mission's got the biggest offensive line I've seen in a long time. And I'm talking about the second team is 270, 260. I mean, they got some huge kids on that team, so maybe you can't count out Mission.
And this might be the year they put it together because they really haven't put it together under Coach Pena yet. As far as what the success he had.
Last couple of years, they've been struggling a bit. I expect them to be competitive. I saw them scrimmage Edinburgh North, and they did a real good job.
But pound for pound, I think Trevor Spates and McAllen Memorial, they're far away the best team in that district. I mean, if you look at Jonathan Sanchez, the way he's running the ball and throwing the ball.
Back behind the center.
Yes.
And he seems like he said he's worked on his timing and footwork a little better. I've always thought that he had a lot of natural ability, and let's face it, 6'7", you can't coach.
Yeah, and there's some continuity there. Having him start at quarterback and end the season at quarterback, I think you're going to see. You're going to see it pay dividends.
Well, on the intro, we talked about Memorials. They're having some struggles when they get to the playoffs, but you see them getting back there big time, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I think that, every year that they've had a senior-led team as far as Matthew Kaufman at center, or behind center, Bradley Stevens, even the Grancellis before.
Yeah, Grancelli.
They've always performed their senior year, and they've always done well. And I think they learned from last year's loss in the first round of the playoffs.
It'll sting you. I'll tell you, I think Memorial's defense is something that maybe people haven't talked about yet, but you look at each line of that group, they've got some good players. I think Ricky Minor's a great player. Linebackers, they've got some good ones too. Sam Hinojosa's a good player. Secondary, you watch this kid, Joey Delgado, who was a sophomore last year. I told you about him. He's a hitter. Him and Ozzie Salazar. No, I think Memorial's got a good chance to win that district. And as far as McAllen goes, I think that defense too in time could be good.
I do too. I think they have the athletes. They have the size on the offensive line. They have the size on the defense.
They always have size. They're big boys.
Yeah. But they're going to have to put it together. They're going to have to figure out the passing game. And that's where I think, 36A is going to fall to McAllen Memorial, just because it's going to take them longer to find out who they are.
Well, if the new guy from McAllen is as advertised, and if Cody Rodriguez, the linebacker, has a big season, I found they've got Joseph Guerra up front on the line. He's that counter to Minor, from Memorial. The teams kind of mirror each other until you get back to the kid. And let's face it, having an all-state running back, a guy that's going to probably break the record before we get to the playoffs, it's hard to stop the guy. I mean, so that has to be worth a few wins right there, man. So, okay, you got Memorial, Mackay. We talked a little bit about Palmview. You think Mission has a big line. Palmview's got one too.
Yeah.
They don't bring back their backs from last year, so they got to find some new kids to run the ball. But I feel like Palmview's got a chance to be in there.
And Palmview, they're not reinventing the wheel. They're pretty much sticking to, we're just going to run the ball, which is old La Jolla football.
Yeah.
I don't see that you really can lose that way in that district, because if you look at it, McAllen Memorial runs the ball a lot.
Yeah.
Mackay will probably run the ball more than normal.
They might throw the ball a bit. They got Darren Moy as a pretty good receiver, but I think they'll predominantly be ground.
Yeah, and so I think, with a team like Palmview, you're going to run the ball, you're going to kill the clock.
And if those guys can play defense like they did last year, I feel like they have a pretty good shot. And again, I want to get back to Mission, because I know a scrimmage is a scrimmage, but I sensed a lot of fire in that team, and I sensed that there was a lot of confidence in that team, and they really impressed me. I mean, the way they threw the ball, they got some good receivers, man, and that big old line. Don't count Mission out. Now, what about Lincoln? Lincoln's been a little bit rusty the last couple of years, but can't they compete in that district?
Let's move past them. We'll go right to Rowe. No, you know what, Juan is,
They weren't bad a couple years.
Yeah, well, what they suffer from, what a lot of teams in the Valley suffer from is that numbers. They don't have the numbers, and they don't have the big guys that you need to grind in there. I really I like Rowe as a dark horse in that district. I think if Rowe can play some defense this year to go along with their offense, that's putting up, 500 yards against Vella?
Yeah, that was a track meet. 1,000 yards for the teams, 10 touchdowns. Rowe's got some playmakers. They really do.
I think that Rowe could be the dark horse. I don't know if Juana's going to be the dark horse, but I think that Rowe could be.
Well, Pettit's a big quarterback for the Warriors. He's a big boy. He's improved his footwork, and he'll sling that thing, man. I love Joseph Moreno. That dude is a good player, man. He was all over the field. They didn't tackle him. I don't even know if they touched him. That guy's always open, and he always goes forward, and he's speedy, man. I think if Rowe, like you said, can hold teams to under 25 or 30, they're going to score that many. I really feel like they're going to have a chance too. So maybe it's not as top-heavy as we thought. When you really sit down and think about it, yeah, Memorial looks like a favorite. McAllen looks tough. But those other teams we mentioned, nothing's set in stone yet, is it?
No, nothing yet. And you remember, there's going to be injuries. There's going to be, grades coming up, in 6 weeks. So, there's going to be some movement.
Well, we're going to see movement on the first week because we got Cherryland and Memorial. That's going to be a fun game, don't you think?
Yeah.
Over in McAllen. Try to take in that ball game. I like to see the marquee games. I wish it was week 10, but they're not in the same district anymore. But they have a lot of history together, and I know they want to beat each other, so I'm really looking forward to that ball game. How about Mission? Speaking of the first week, they go in against Mission Vets. That's a game for the Eagles to set the tone for the year and say, no, we're not going to be out of the playoffs.
Last year that was an ugly game, if I remember right.
Yeah.
It wasn't a very productive game for either side.
Right. Yeah.
But that's what happened when you get those rivalry games. It becomes more of in the trenches.
That's right.
Nasty game.
Now, Veterans, as we're going to talk about later, is expected to be one of the best teams in the Valley. So what better way for Mission to start the season than by giving them a game and then maybe then some? I don't know. Well, that's 36A. I was going to say 5A because, the first couple of weeks I always screw it up a couple of times. The show, we're rolling. Football is here. You can put away your water wings. The summertime in the pool is over. It's time to play football. We'll be back.
Meet Karen, a small business owner who worked in her home and a local coffee shop. Her house is comfortable but isolating and not a place to meet clients. Add to that the distractions of family life, kids, pets, and chores waiting to get done. She works late at night to catch up. The coffee shop has free Wi-Fi and great coffee, but it's not built for business. From the noisy espresso machine to the chatty couple at the next table over, the lack of privacy proves challenging to get work done or to meet clients without being awkward. She tried getting an office in a business center, but didn't see value in spending money on an office where she would still be alone most of the time. Karen looked online to find what others are doing. That's when she learned about co-working and found the Grindstone, the first co-working space in the Rio Grande Valley. Grindstone Co-working is a membership-based office built for people like Karen. A space designed for privacy when you need it and collaboration when you want it. The Grindstone provides private offices, meeting rooms, phone booths, a place to lounge, and a cafe area in a tech-friendly, inspiring environment. The affordable membership options at the Grindstone include community events, Wi-Fi, and endless coffee. Karen's business is thriving and she's never been happier.